I came across this teaching this morning. When I woke up this morning, I noticed I was feeling a little heavier than usual. And so then my desire was to feel good, to feel happy. And then I became focused on some kind of goal of happiness, that there was something else I needed to become, there was somewhere else I needed to get to, and then I'd be happy, then I'd feel a sense of self-worth and goodness. But then I remembered my simple understanding, the simple teaching of, you could call it the Taoism of Lao Tzu, that rejoice in the way that things are. So we are the way that things are. How we feel in the moment is absolutely a part of the way things are. And so this is the paradox of what we could call self-love and self-compassion. Self-love and compassion doesn't mean we have to become something else to be worthy of love. That's something we've picked up in life. You know, as a child, we looked at our parents who were training us to be in the world, and their love needed to be dependent, or their expression of love was dependent. It needed to be to train the child, you know, in behavioral systems. So the crux was, as a baby looks at the parent's face, does this face look, you know, this is a scientifically sound theory. The child looks at the parent's face. Does this bring a smile to my parent's face or a frown? So there's the reward. If I behave, think, act in this way, I'll be loved. If I don't, I'll be rejected. And so our programming, our earthly programming starts, which is almost like training wheels on a bike. We need that maybe to some degree, as our parents doing the best they could with the information they were given as well. But we need some kind of stability to find, to orientate ourselves in the world. But then there becomes a time when we have to take the training wheels off, that we need to find our own balance, our own middle way through the programming that we've received and through living in the world. It was interesting, I came across an interesting quote this morning, and the quote was by Professor Kirsten Neff, who works at the Harvard Medical School, who's been carrying out clinical trials on self-compassion. And she said, self-kindness is more important than becoming a good meditator. In other words, as I've said before, the reason that we do practice can be more important than the practice itself. For example, if we meditate with the idea that we need to become someone else or something else, that creates anxiety in the meditation, because we're chasing something. We're moving away from who we are in this moment, and we're very skillfully and quietly saying to ourselves, who I am now is not good enough. And in a way that creates a fragmentation in our being. Really, the idea of practice and self-compassion is to say that who I am now in this moment is enough. In my brokenness, in my sadness, in my happiness, in my tiredness, in my wakefulness, in my low energy, in my high energy. That's the first step of healing. That's the first step of growth. It's the first step of growing into greater experiences of self-actualization. This isn't a mystery to any of the great spiritual teachers. So if we look at Christ, his second commandment within the two commandments, from which he says all the commandments of the prophets are based on these two. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now there's a presumption in that statement that we already know how to love ourselves, and most of us weren't taught that effectively by our society. So what is self-love? Self-love is the ability to turn your awareness to how you feel now, who you are now, and say, this is enough. In my brokenness, in my sadness, in my despair, in my joy, in my worthiness, in my sense of unworthiness, This me is acceptable to me. This is why people seek out or are blown away by, we are told, the company of someone who will be described as a Buddha, maybe like the Dalai Lama, seen as a Buddha of compassion. And what people find around the Dalai Lama, they love everyone equally. Strangers, millionaires, people with no money. It doesn't matter to them. The broken, the fixed. They represent this universal nature. And this is the same for saints also. They have this capacity to love everyone. What they're showing us is this is the truth. This is the way, the light, this is the essence of our own being manifested within them. They're showing us this is how to treat yourself with absolute self-compassion, absolute love, and absolute acceptance, as you are right now.